Aloha, beautiful fam. Doing a little evening 11:11 love stream here. I just wanted to share about an invitation that was brought forth to we today, miracle, and it is to assist some of our indigenous family, and it is the Qero people of the area that is known as Peru in the fictional fiction. To the Qero, we are on the planet of Pachamama. And so we were invited to assist the Qero by hosting a despacho. And a despacho is a very special prayer ceremony that the Qero do, and it is a ceremony where our prayers are assisted by the shamans, by those who are very, very connected to the earth and to the cosmos, and the indigenous people of Peru and many other areas who are walking in both worlds are inviting our assistance. They have been affected by COVID, and a lot of their lives have depended on tourism to walk in both worlds. And so they ask very little of the Western world. These indigenous people on our planet have walked the good red road with the planet. And so tomorrow night we are hosting an online despacho with a Qero shaman named Pablo in Peru, and he is being supported by a deer guide named Ronnie. And Ronnie and I met in 2015. So I will love stream again tomorrow, miracle, but I feel to share some pieces that are coming through this night miracle. So in 2014, and I've been sharing pieces of my journey on the grids, and if this love stream is inspiring, please share it. That's called gifting. So I was invited by the Hopi in 2014 to carry their corn to South America to be part of the fulfillment of the prophecy of the eagle and the condor. So the indigenous peoples on the planet have been holding true to their sacred responsibility to hold balance upon the planet for the human family. And the indigenous carried prophecies and understood through their calendars and their understanding of cosmology that a great shift was coming, and they held the stories and the instructions of that shift to assist those of we who may have lost our connection to star knowledge and star wisdom and the higher connection of the truth of who we are, which is spirit in form. So many of our indigenous peoples have held that for us. So on my journey on the grids, I became adopted, so to speak, by various indigenous peoples. And what happened for many of we on the planet, we are known as the Rainbow Tribe. And around 2011 to 2013-14, the indigenous began to recognize we, bliss. And so many of us have held the codes to help bridge the Western world and the root peoples of the planet. And the Western world is very different. The consciousness of the people living in the Western world has been very egoic. And the indigenous people have really sustained a connection in unity consciousness. So you could say that the Western world maybe was some kind of experiment, and the take what resonates, throw the rest away. The indigenous peoples on the planet held the balance on the planet for maybe it was an experiment, who knows. And so on my journey, I began to be acknowledged by different indigenous beings as being a star being on the planet, and being asked by different nations to carry sacred bundles for them around the planet. Their bundles are different things, different bundles. Sometimes it's water that holds prayers or crystals, or sacred writings and sacred symbols and so on. And so I was asked to carry different bundles for different indigenous families on the planet, to move those bundles and the codes, the energy in those bundles, to sacred sites at sacred times on the planet, to unlock the grids for what is coming, the event, which the indigenous have called it. And so we are in a bridging time now, and time isn't real and doesn't exist. And yet, for much of the consciousness that still exists inside of the construct of time, what is happening is we are going through a great transfiguration with the planetary consciousness, the planetary body. So some of us are here to assist in bridging the consciousness between these many worlds. On my journey of walking the grids, of being risen up or woken up, so to speak, by source consciousness, very prophetically in 2010, a lot of information started to flood into my awareness and my consciousness that told me where to go on the planet and what to do to help to unlock the grids of the planet. So in that process, we have come to a space and place in time where the Hopi prophecy said that we would transcend time, that we were living inside of a container that was designed to resolve our miscreations from our misunderstandings of cosmic principles. And so this is all about balance. Our sacred responsibility is to return ourselves to an inner balance called 0 point, and to collapse our polarized egotistical mind back into the singularity within us, and to align ourselves with 0 point. So we have this opportunity. And for those of us who are helping to bridge the Western mentality and Western humanity, the river is flowing fast now, so to speak, according to the prophecies. And what this means is that nature is taking charge. And when we say charge, we mean taking the charge. So in a dualistic consciousness, we're just like a battery. We have a positive and a negative charge inside of us, which keeps us in duality. The planet is now taking that charge and returning it inside of her to 0 point. So it means that a great shift is upon us. I saw a video the other miracle day of Grandma Qero, the eldest Qero shaman of who live in the location called Peru, and she and others were at the Great Pyramid of Giza. And there's something very significant to know, is that the indigenous on the planet are gatekeepers. So if we think of the planetary body that we're on, and if this love stream is inspiring, please share it. That's called gifting. If we think of the planetary body that we are on as a body that is filled with stargates, those stargates are affected by those who know how to interface with those stargates. And the true people, the original peoples of the planet, the stewards and caretakers of this beautiful garden, this beautiful planet, are the various indigenous peoples of the planet who have been a great gift to those of us who were perhaps part of the dualistic experiment. These peoples, the Hopi, the Kogi, the Kalahari Bush people, the Pygmies, all these different peoples, the Shipibo, who have begun to open their doors to certain people in the Western consciousness to help us realign ourselves so that we are aligned with the great shift that is coming. So in being invited to support our Qero family by doing a Despacho and to bring forth these beautiful healers to offer healing ceremonies as well, we Pod have created an event for tomorrow, Miracle Night at 6 p.m. Pacific, with one of our Qero shaman elders. And Pablo, will be assisted by Ronnie, who is his translator. So I'll just share a little bit. When I was in Peru in 2015 and carrying corn on behalf of the Hopi to do corn exchanges with the South American shamans of Peru, the Qero, to help fulfill the prophecy of the eagle and the condor. Corn is a computer, and this is why it is a sacred plant to the indigenous people. And when corn dries, it crystallizes. So corn holds information, and this is why in the fictional fiction, corn was GMO'd, because it is a natural computer, and it holds a deep relationship, just like the tarot does for Polynesian people, because there is a deep and sacred understanding of the content of these plants and how they hold the memory of bloodlines and lineages. And so crystal holds memory, and corn, as we say, crystallizes. So when I was asked to carry Hopi corn to South America to help fulfill the prophecy of the union of the eagle and the condor, which is the left and right hemispheres of the brain, North and South America, the masculine and the feminine, the union of the opposites back into the singularity, I had 3 very mystical experiences in Peru that all materialized very synchronistically. And when I was in Peru, I met this beautiful man named Ronnie, who worked very closely with the Qero people. And Ronnie is a tour guide, a Peruvian man who is a tour guide. And he told me of all of his work that he was doing with the indigenous people. And Ronnie is a very integrous being. So he reached out to we today and asked if we would be interested in doing this Despacho ceremony. So the Despacho ceremony is a ceremony that is a ceremony about balance. And the Qero people have a deep connection with the earth and with the mountains and with the sky, with nature. And so they have a special way of interfacing with nature and the elementals. The true technologies on the planet are the elementals. And sacred indigenous teachings understand how to commune with the spirits and the elementals in a way that many Western people have completely lost connection with. In losing connection with this, we lose our connection to source consciousness, and then we land up in states where we are in the lower ego constructs, and from the lower ego constructs, ego can be manipulated. So this is all about our sovereign rights to reconnect to source consciousness from inside of us and find that sacred authority again, where there is no money, there is no middleman between us and source consciousness. If you think this love stream is inspiring, please share it. That's called gifting. So the Despacho is a ceremony of balance, and it is done by shamans who have always sustained their connection to spirit and their connection to nature and their connection to Pachamama, to this great planet that we are so very gifted to be on, this incredible living library, this incredible garden. And the garden is waking up, and she's going through a shift, and she's inviting us to go with her. So we are being offered this great opportunity to do this ceremony and to prepare ourselves for the spring equinox that is coming. That is really the beginning of the new year, so to speak, in many traditions, because of course it's spring. It's when everything is birthing again. And the Despacho will be tomorrow night at 6 p.m. It's going to be a group event online. And our shaman Pablo is going to organize all of the elements and the sacred altar. And we are going to participate in that and then place our prayers for ourselves and our friends and our family and for all life into this sacred altar together. And then the shaman then sends those prayers to the heaven. And so it is a way of assisting people who have lost their connection to spirit and source and prayer and nature and all those things. This is a way to be assisted to make that connection. And do not underestimate the power of these ceremonies, because as we say, this is true technology, and our indigenous families are very good at their connection to this true technology, not the technology of the cell phones and the computers, but the true technology of the elementals. So nature always shows us if we forget. Nature reminds us the power of the elementals, and that the human ego constructs are nothing compared to the power of nature. And so sometimes nature humbles us, and that's a gift, because we're not these egos, we're not these personalities, and we are being liberated from them. And this ceremony is going to be of great assistance for many. As I say, do not underestimate the power of the ceremony that is being offered and gifted to we. So if you're interested to join us to support our Qero family, some of the indigenous peoples on the planet who have been holding true to their sacred responsibility to sustain balance upon the planet, while some experiment played out or some polarized consciousness came in and is now going out, which is what the dualistic ego mind has been all about. We are blessed to have the invitation to participate with our true indigenous peoples who have sustained the balance. Once again, the ceremony will be a profound ceremony to help bring us into balance inside of ourselves through the prayers. Prayer is a technology, and for those who understand the power of prayer and the power of peace, these are the two greatest technologies that have been held dear by the indigenous. And these are the most profound ways to affect, to interface with the cosmos. There are massive shifts still on the way on our planet. And as we say, when we saw the Qero indigenous at the Giza pyramid a few days ago, the ceremony that was going on there was a very clear message that the indigenous are beginning to prepare to open the stargates of this planet. The Hopi prophecy said that time would come to an end, this container would come to an end, and that we had the opportunity as it was coming to an end to receive the teachings that were brought to us from the red hats, small in number, who came from the east. And these are the teachings of the Buddhists that taught us how to, that offered us the gifts to collapse our polarities back into the singularity inside, collapse our egoic personality. And then they said that the time would pass and that we could no longer do the work, make the shifts or changes, and our survival would be contingent on the quality of our heart, because our heart is our largest electromagnetic structure in our body. So as we collapse the dualistic egoic mind, which is all working up here in the frontal lobe, and affects our perception that we are, our perception of who we are, and the ego gives us the perception that we are separate. We are separate from life, that life is separate from us, and that it's us versus them, or me versus you. That's what the egoic mind does, and the egoic mind is completing inside of us. So as a bundle carrier for the indigenous, walking in many worlds, we have had the opportunity to act as a bridge for many people and many beings through these transmissions and through working with the grids. And so tomorrow, Miracle Night, which is Monday night, if you're watching this on Monday, the ceremony is actually tonight. It's going to be at 6 p.m. Pacific. And all of the details are down below in the description box if you would like to join. WePod are supporting our indigenous family. Pablo will be the shaman, and he will be sharing all of the proceeds with our Qero family in the mountains. And again, it's just really important to share that these indigenous people, on behalf of humanity, different indigenous groups around the world, the true indigenous people who didn't lose their way, have been holding balance on the planet for all life. And if we have never heard these things before, we might not understand what this means. In their prayers, in the energy, in their interaction with nature, they have been praying for all of life to survive on the planet, while we have been in the Western world playing out a dualistic game of sorts, or a dualistic interface or experience for creation. And the indigenous know that everything is about to change. So this is one of those miracle coordinates for us to align our consciousness with those who have a greater understanding of the great change. We have to plug in Wee's phone. Hang on. So after the Despacho, then the next few days, Pablo is offering to do healings. And the healings that the Qero do are healings where they are able to scan our fields, because these shamans work very much in the etheric and the energetic fields. So they're very, very perceptive at subtle levels of energy, that they can do these ceremonies in personal presence with us, or they can do these ceremonies at a distance. If this live stream is inspiring, please share it. That's called gifting. So on Tuesday and Wednesday, Pablo will be hosting healing sessions and coca leaf readings. And that is also in the description box for anyone who is interested to receive these profound gifts and these profound blessings from our beloved and deeply, deeply connected to the nature realms and the etheric realms, the spirit realms, and so on, to assist people to come into a state of balance, a state of healing, a state of wholeness within us. And I am so honored to have the opportunity to make some of these bridges between worlds, because on my own personal journey, I danced in so many realms, and I moved through the realms of the royals, the cabals, the indigenous, scientists, communities, communal groups, learning to live together, organic farmers, slept under a lot of trees on my grid work, and spent deep, deep time in nature, and had so many mystical and miraculous experiences, and was also deeply guided by inner planes mentors. And as I've shared many miracles in time before, I have a deep connection also with Princess Diana, who guided me in many levels and layers. So my role and my consciousness has had me move through so many realms of life, so many realms of humans and bloodlines, and have done it in a very neutral kind of way that expresses the most magnificent component, which is called love. And that is what I feel for my entire human family, which is how I was able to spend space in close proximity to many different expressions of life, many different expressions of human, with non-judgment, just a lot of love and compassion, and the capacity to see through the veils that many beings, that we've all been playing roles in a play. And it was on my journey a conundrum, as I wondered how I was able to move through so many different realms of consciousness. My conundrum was always, how is it all ever going to all come together? And I realized that was not for my mind to figure out. And right now we are beginning to see how it all comes together. That is the joy of the great mystery, is the great mystery is revealing to all of we how it's all coming together. And so again, as I say, it is an honor to host this Despacho with our Qero elder tomorrow, Monday night at 6 p.m. Pacific, and then the healing sessions that he will be offering on Tuesday and Wednesday. And if they get booked out, he'll be offering them longer. And all of the proceeds that we are inviting are proceeds that go directly to Pablo and the Qero people. And it really is an opportunity for people who have wanted to become more involved with our indigenous people, our sacred stewards of this planet. This is one of those great opportunities to support that connection. And one of the things we've been sharing in recent love streams is the collapsing economies, which will continue to reveal that the only thing that has value and meaning as we continue to go forward is relationships. And relationships can't be valued through the current financial systems that exist. And we will discover something called sacred reciprocity, which is that the universe begins to respond to all who are aligned at the heart frequency. And that has to do with collaboration, cooperation, and a whole lot of love and joy and celebration. So if you're one of those lucky and lovely beings that is here to make these bridgings with our Indigenous families, then I invite you to join us tomorrow night for the Despacho at 6 p.m. with our Qero elder online, our Qero elder Pablo, and our interpreter Ronnie, who has spent many years deeply connected to supporting these beautiful, incredible people who have so much wisdom and so many teachings to bring to us, to offer us, to bring ourselves back into true harmonious alignment with nature, because nature is bringing a great shift to this planet, and change will continue immensely. So thank you for tuning in, and as I say, all of the details are in the description box, and we are honored to be able to support by inviting contributions to also support our Indigenous elders in the ways that will assist them as well as they bridge themselves out of the realms of the Western world. We are all bridging ourselves beyond the middleman called money, and these connections that we are making now are going to be very cosmic as those of us in the Western world make these very beautiful connections again with our Indigenous, and we use the current technology that we have by making these connections via online, which floods the internet with love and high vibrations. So that is all the sharing for now. If this love stream is inspiring, please share it. That's called gifting. And all of the notes are in the description box. It is recommended that if you want to receive a healing session from Pablo, that you do participate with us in the Despacho tomorrow night, because in the Despacho, Pablo will do the prayers for a unifying and for a unified field, and also will explain to us through his interpreter, Ronnie, what Despacho is and who these people really are, these incredibly humble people who have lived completely connected to nature beyond the ego. And it is always just such an honor to be in their presence. It is completely humbling. And and I love you. And if you listen to this love stream and you found it inspiring, please share it. That's called gifting. And please tune into the notes below if you are guided to participate in any of the offerings. Once again, all of the proceeds, everything is going to support our Qero people, and also to make these bridges and connections for those of us who are code carriers of the Rainbow Tribe. This ceremony and these healings are most definitely cosmic at this miracle in time, and they will be already have brought cosmic change to the planet. We're just finding out how we did it. We did it through gifting. We love we so much. Aloha.